Prayers for Pandrogeny and breaking sex. In the beginning, all were perfect. The first man was the first woman. The first woman was the first man, until the whispering began. She is here. He is her. DNA is an evolutionary parasite, and our bodies are merely the host environment in a symbiotic relationship with it. Our species replicates as much to perpetuate DNA as to perpetuate the species. Hence, one playful linguistic Briar-Peorage slogan, DNA, A-N-D.
In fact, we see the I of our consciousness as a fictional assembly or collage that resides in the environment of the body. One of the central themes of our work is the malleability of physical and behavioral identity. The body is used by the mind as a logo for the self before we are able to speak language. It is almost a holographic doll, constructed by outside expectations even before our body is born.
If a baby's gender is known early in a pregnancy, the embryo will to some extent hear and feel its parents' preconceptions. These hopes and expectations are far more complex than we imagine. Even the name we are assigned is another holographic program in the prophetic story of who we are to become. Our identity is fictional, written by parents, relatives, education, society.
The work of William S. Burroughs and Brian Geisen has been highly influential, particularly in relation to the practice of the cut-up.
In many ways, they saw the third mind as an entity in and of itself and themselves, something other, closer to a purity of essence and the origin and source of magical or divine creativity that could only result from the integration of two. Briar-Peorage experiment with various disciplines and practices to apply the cut-up to behavior, to identity, to gender, and to deconditioning as far as possible the fictional character written by consensus reality. Briar-Peorage have attempted to cut up, erase, jumble, collage, highlight, and cross-fade every possible inherited perception and take nothing for granted.
Just as Burroughs and Geisen collaborated together, subsuming their separate works, individuality and ego, to a creative process by cutting up the word to produce a third mind, so, in our current practice, Briar-Peorage have applied the cut-up process and the third mind concept directly to a central concern, the fictional self, the unauthorized A-story of our lives so far.
Briar-Peorage both subsume our separate bodies, individuality and ego, to an ongoing and substantially irreversible process of cutting up the identity to produce a third being, an other entity that we call the Pandrogeny. In general, for society, the body retains a certain sanctity. It is God-given, a gift that we should be happy with, and perhaps like a child at Christmas, show no signs of disappointment if, upon looking, we didn't get what we truly desired.
Both of the artists that represent Briar P-ANDROGENY are prepared to express their dissatisfaction with this fatalistic and redundant view of the physical body, and to go farther and embrace all the surgical, chemical, and psychological advances that will enable them to create the new Pandrogeny.
Lady J calls the human body a cheap suitcase that we carry around our consciousness, our self, in.
Genesis Briar P-ANDROGENY likens it to a coral reef, a sophisticated biosystem that allows our consciousness to be mobile.
Briar P-ANDROGENY feel that their practice is not as concerned with gender as it might first seem. Some people feel they are a man trapped in a woman's body. Some people feel they are a woman trapped in a man's body. Briar P-ANDROGENY just feel trapped in a body.
The Pandrogeny is a positive androgyne, more hermaphroditic than any gender. The Pandrogeny is our third entity.
But not the third gender. Essentially, though, we are committed to working towards the nearest we can to be looking the same by surgical procedures. Thereafter, it is a matter of intent and impression. The idea and the total commitment to the idea, not the ideal, is our path. We are required over and over again by our process of cutting up our bodies to create a third, conceptually more precise body, to let go of a lifetime's attachment to the physical logo that we visualize automatically as the I in our internal dialogue with self.
Briar P-ANDROGENY are going as deeply as they can to rebuild in order to avoid our own unconscious and conscious preferences and aesthetics. We will leave how we look as the Pandrogeny as nearly as possible to random chance and various surgeons. As time progresses, we will have been through as many medical procedures as we feel illustrates our idea of Pandrogeny. This work is not just physical. We are also beginning slowly to explore the surprisingly profound effects of being lost so totally and lovingly in the mirror of another being. We are not trying to look our best or even look better. We were happy with our bodies as they were in terms of that.
The practice of becoming two parts of one new being that exists more fully when we are physically together is our objective. Reunion of the fragmented self to create a self-determined identity is important to us.
Another very important aspect of our practice is the expression of deeply romantic, chivalrous love. Briar P-ANDROGENY love each other so much that they wish to surrender their bodies to that same place of serenity where their hearts already reside.
We are but one.